Let me say good evening to every one of you, and we firstly want to appreciate our brothers and our friends from the media sector for coming to cover this press conference. My name is Fode N. Masakwe. I am the National Secretary General of Liberia's biggest and foremost civil political movement, the Cdc-Council of Patriots. Today, we will be addressing the Liberian people after a very successful and wanted to be chaotic opposition sponsor on our event on yesterday, wherein the Liberian people through the Cdc-Council of Patriots came out in their multiplicity and diversity to appreciate President George Weah for the magnanimous work he's doing for our country and the governance of our nation. So we have the full bench of the executive here. We have the youth chair of the Cdc-Council of Patriots, Comrade Henry Sebaditabla. We have the vice chair for operations, Comrade Joshua Francisca. We do have the public relations officer, Comrade Aaron Kofachi, and the IRDA Chairman Ben Billy Topa, who will be speaking to the press. And at this press conference, you will have the opportunity. At this press conference, you have the opportunity to ask the 3 questions from the media. Well, on yesterday, Liberia's only legitimate civil rights political movement marched into history. And we gathered at the American Embassy. It will amaze you to know that people being sponsored by the opposition community, information gathered from our accurate information gathered from our intelligence unit. I've gathered we have the facts in our possessions. The chairman will be addressing that. The chairman will also be speaking to the significance, the necessity of our convergence on yesterday. How 15 plus of our patriots were wounded. Some of them are currently in the hospital and seeking treatment. We will also be uncovering the true intent of an opposition sponsor attempt targeted at creating pandemonium in our country on yesterday, especially on Independence Day. Imagine someone telling you they want to face the phone, but they are putting petrol looking for matches to burn the phone. Which kind of son human being will do that? So the chairman will also be addressing that. Chairman Ben Believe Topa will also be appreciating our patriots and the Liberian people for coming out in their multiplicity and diversity to overwhelmingly petition President Weah for his re-election at 2023 based on the tangibles. 100 plus tangibles were read in front of the American Embassy yesterday. The chairman will also be speaking to the Liberian people about the essence of ungrateful and failed politicians who have lost all of their political dominance, who swims in defeat, but they don't even have the power anymore to confront the government of the day. You see them hiding under the umbrella of disorganized and misguided student groupings of some youth groupings in the country, purporting that they are the one. No, we encourage Cummins, we encourage Boake, we encourage Jumbly to come and fight George. We are the thing they have the power to do so. But you cannot be using other people's children as that. The chairman will speak to the nation also on the importance and the maintenance of our peace and security. As we edge towards 2023, there will be no go zone for anyone who believes they can undermine the peace and the stability of our country. So the Cdc-Council of Patriots want to inform the Liberian people as we are speaking to you now. We have seen cross-section of people spreading disinformation and misinformation. And that is the beauty of these conversations. We create the opportunity that we can provide the facts and the evidence. How will you say you are a better person, that this person is no one, but you swim in far greater contradiction than the person you want to condemn? There's a breaking news to you, to some of you following the podcast. The failed Unity Party of 12 years at their convention, it have been a scene. It have turned out to be a scene. You're not getting me? The failed Unity Party convention in Bon County, Banga City, have turned out to be a scene of pandemonium, chaos, and regret. Currently, as to speak to you, Unity Partisan headed by Ahmed Moda and supported by Joseph Human Pocket, they are destroying the administrative building. These are the people that want to spread misinformation. Unity Party, I speak to you now, they are destroying the administrative building in Bon County, Banga. These are the people. So the chairman will also be throwing light on a wide range of issues. So we want to appreciate the journalists for being here. We want to encourage the Liberian people and want to appreciate all well-meaning Liberians. And those of you that believe in the CDC-COP, as we have been very objective, we have been very crystal clear to the issues. For us, it is not about individual interests. For us, it is about the forwardness of our country and the betterment of our state. So we say this in a very clear and unambiguous tone. Together, we will always be here to protect the state from intruders. Like we said, the chairman will be speaking to the unprovoked action yesterday with facts, with evidences. So allow me to limit my heart as I am just serving as the paraphernalia to prepare the way for the erudite and debonair leader of our Renaissance. Liberia foremost and several political movement will be speaking to the press, and 3 questions will be taken into consideration. The chairman will provide answer and some basic clarity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Chairman Ben Believe Tupa.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Distinguished citizens of Liberia, men and women of the 4th Estate, we bring you greetings from the bulwark of patriotic and intellectual consciousness. Before I accelerate this conversation, I'd like to thank the over 5,000 Liberians who joined Liberia BKS and award-winning grassroots civil rights movement, the CDC-COP, in celebrating President George Weah, who is fixing our country for all of us common good. We want to say thank you for coming up in your thousands and celebrating your president. Cdc-Council of Patriots condemns the insensitive opposition community of Joe Boakai, Alexander Cummings, and Benina Ure for a well-calculated and sponsored attack at the peaceful assembly of citizens at the U.S. Embassy near Monrovia. Proves the barbaric burning of tires and encourage the camper-based social club to utilize and appreciate the free tuition program at the University of Liberia and desist from being an opposition tool in throwing stones khaki kids. Fellow Liberians, the CDC-COP in its strongest terms vehemently condemned the call-outs and butchery act orchestrated by the compromise and failed opposition at the U.S. Embassy against peaceful Liberians that went out to present their petition to the American people. On the 26th of July, Liberia Independence Day. In our possession is video and pictorial evidences. Some of these evidences are already shared on the social media, and the secretary of our institution will make copies available to the 4th Estate, especially for those who have not accessed the information for consumption. At the U.S. Embassy, pictorial evidences gathered indicates or clearly shows misguided pupils who gathered rocks and weapons in their standing position yesterday at the American embassy. The unprovoked violence of Joe Barker and Yuri led to several peaceful students, community dwellers, and ordinary citizens that were cooking their 26th food to celebrate the independence being injured, and several damages occurred in the process. The CDC-COP describes the opposition-sponsored action to burn tires in the street as vicious, nefarious, and completely barbaric, stopping the movement of peaceful citizens who were moving from one point to another in the country to celebrate July 26th. The burning of tires by pupils in khaki justify how their so-called opposition-sponsored campaign was a calculated attempt to implement destructions as our country received several international guests. This makes our argument that we is fixing the country a living reality, so they are doing everything possible in their human power to defame the government. We urge those vulnerable and misguided kids to desist from the low-life dustbin of prioritizing gangsterism as the most viable conduit of existence. The anti-deviant, anachronistic, and old-fashioned opposition community must be ashamed of their action. The denigration she brought upon herself by exposing her Turkish nature, even on Independence Day, a day set aside for the nation to commemorate her gains and challenges faced in its sojourn. Distinguished members of the Fourth Estate, the opposition's disgruntled action validates the reality that their institution has lost consciousness, and it's illogical. It's also logical to note that the current bandwagon of insolent and malnourished lambrines in khaki are drowning in the cesspool of oblivion. They are nothing but higher propaganda machinery of dead opposition to defame the government. This strategy of the dead, disorganized, temporary, disintegrated, and directionless opposition will never work under our existence, under the watch of Liberia's biggest grassroots civil rights movement, the Cdc-Council of Patriots. The CDC-COP mandates those pupils to be grateful to the CDC we-led government for the availability of free tuition and the beautification or renovation of the buildings at the premises of the University of Liberia. Any serious-minded student group will use President Weah's magnanimous initiative to take their lessons important and not to burn tires and instigate pandemoniums. But it is sickening. It is indeed sickening to see elements of a campus-based social club carrying stones, knives, and weapons in their bags to attack peaceful patriots in the name of hot-witting advocacy. The University of Liberia should be a theater of academic excellence and intellectual superiority. But it is horrible to see a failed student group reducing the state-run UL to a hub of havoc, gangsterism, and hoodlumism. Finally, we'd like to call on the U.S. Embassy, the Swedish Embassy, the European Union, partners around Monrovia to be notified that the current failed and disorganized opposition is using a moribund student unit to instigate unnecessary commotion, since the opposition is spineless and unable to face the Weah-led administration that is accelerating development across every spectrum of the country and tackling multiple challenges simultaneously. We'd like to encourage the University of Liberia administration to instill discipline in those directionless pupils, because such disgruntled attitude can undermine the democracy. But we, will be available. Take this. We will be available to direct the right course of history any day. The CDC-COP, being Liberia's biggest grassroots civil rights movement, believes in the protection of our peace and democracy. And at no point in time will our institution engage in any form of violence. We are a beneficiary of peace under Ambassador George Weah. We recall in history what civil unrest did to our country, orchestrated by the likes of Europe Buckeye and their field system. So we honor, embrace peace and stability introduced and maintained by President George Weah. The CDC-COP wants to say to the Liberian people that the United Party, under the leadership of former VP Buckeye, created this desperation of power, consistent with the so-called fix the country. What a contradiction. The fixing of a country cannot be done in the twinkle of an eye. It is a process. It is a process. Joe Buckeye, after losing his strongholds and understanding the fact that he's been massively defeated again by President George Weah, this time 15 out of 15 counties resort to using quote-unquote kids in filthy khakis under a banner of a student social club on Liberia 175 Independence Day. The United Party recent press release further provided more reasons that the misguided talks, planned violent action was deliberate, thus creating the fear to the international partners to instigate fear for foreign guests and citizens soon to celebrate that Liberia is not peaceful under President George Weah. But the magnanimous and tsunami tenor of thousands of sons and daughters of this country on Independence Day, parading as early as 2 o'clock anti-Marillion, signals a very strong message to our international partners that indeed Liberians are beneficiaries of the president fixing this country. For us, we see this political trading as a conscious accident of history. When the oppressors of yesterday in the Unity Party going in bed with brothers in a so-called unification party campus process, we think it's siding. Have these political babies and charlatans and process mercenaries of the Unity Party understood what they are getting involved with? Have they been able to understand? It's a major contradiction. Let me say this to those kids, to those pupils who are mythologized. You face the country when you take over, and notice that millions of your citizens, young people, want to have access to education, but cannot afford. You face the country by declaring all public universities free of charge. That's what the president did. That's how you face the system. You face the system when you ensure that wax payment is done free of charge. Once you set the wax free of charge, the president paid for all of that. So our market women, our charcoal burners, our paper writers can have their children taking the wax free of charge. That's how you face the country. You face the country when you look at the bridge, the timber bridge linking 2 counties. That's how you face the country. The president is fixing the country when he identified that the road that leads to our international airport, the Roberts Field Highway, is a footpath. He said, no, we cannot have our own international airport road being left here in this country by the failed United Party administration of Joe Buckeye. We have to change this phenomenon. This president moves in and embark on a state-of-the-art pavement of a road that costs $100 million United States dollars. That's how you face the country. You face the country when you take a dialysis machine to JFK, first in the history of our country. You face the country when you introduce and you infatuate the building of a Fulton military hospital. That's how you face the country. You face the country when you give Bapulu County, that was isolated for many years, a decent 100-bedroom hospital. That's how you face the country. Giving our market, women, our mothers, a decent market structure, the Gobacha market, the Douala market, and so many more. The developments are just too much. They are in the multiplicity. So this press conference cannot permit us to unleash all of the achievements of the president. But let me say this peaceful movement, the biggest grassroots civil rights movement, the CDC-COP, believes in the protection of our peace and stability, and no reactionary, absolutely no reactionary force or element will be given a space to undermine the progress of our cherished democracy under the watch of President George Weah and under our existence. Together, and with the support of each and every Liberian, we can safely say to you that this generation of conscious-minded young people, under the ambience of the Cdc-Council of Patriots, will continuously do everything under the ambience of peace to ensure that this president is supported to move Liberia on the right trajectory. And comes 2023, we are going to rally the masses of our people in their millions to give George Weah 15 out of 50 county victory. And in 2029, when this president shall have retired from the presidency, Liberia will be on a considerable path in development, that the next president in 2029 who takes over after President George Weah will have a cakewalk to accelerate more developments inherited from our President George Weah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Chairman. And just for few points, for major points that you must take into consideration before your questions and answers. Like the Chairman said, we condemn the unfortunate attack after we gathered. And this unfortunate attack is very clear in our position statement. It is a sponsored attack by the opposition community to Boakai, Cummins, and Europe. We believe that the student-based social club is just a conduit. They are victims of misinformation. So they have just been used as a paraphernalia to accomplish opposition in Medjugorje. They are not, no, we see them as brothers. But for them being used by the opposition, we said no to that. Let the opposition come and face George where they believe they can. And we also make it clear in our point that 12 of our comrades are currently in the hospitals being treated, because when you see a group of people being assembling and you have other people being paid to come there just to instigate violence and make things appear as if Liberia is not a peaceful country, what we they have forgotten. But this is the same George Weah that decriminalized freedom of speech. It is not George Weah. Anybody can wake up and just say any kind of thing. The journalists can arrest any kind of thing. So we also make it clear in our position statement that it's very much important that we recognize the sustenance and the maintenance of our peace and security. So we'll take two questions quickly and coordinate it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm Sylvester Chiroplay, Spoon TV. In a very denigrating video, a militant or supporter of the Student Unification Party was seen, flogged, dragged, and naked by members who believed to be from the CDC-COP. I want to know on whose authority were you acting, because there is allegation that you acted on the authority of Mayor Javasi Koji, the city mayor of the Monrovia City Corporation.
Well, that's a misinformation. Firstly, the CDC-COP strongly condemn any violent action of search. No Liberian citizen, for no reason, should be treated in that manner and form. Ambassador George Weah taught us to be peaceful. We are sons and daughters of peace and stability. That's what we believe in. So it's just quite unfortunate. But let me say this to you. It's so unfortunate. And Joe Boakai takes responsibility for this. Joseph Newman Boakai takes responsibility for this. You know, it brought tears down my cheek when I watched the video, when I saw young people, somebody saying, I heard somebody saying they are from a student grouping. Somebody said, Soup, I received money. The chair, you received money, you didn't get my money. You're compromised. Those kind of statements were being said in the video. I heard, I kept seeing, and according to what I witnessed, what I watched on the social media, I saw quote unquote student groupings, like you call them Soup?
Yeah,
Soup versus Soup interacting, and that's bad. Let me say this. No, that's why we always condemn young people and lie themselves to be used by politicians. We always condemn that, because you see what Joe Biden did. You gave young people money, students, and said go out and disturb your country independence. And from what I gather, Joe Biden instructed those students to burn tires on Capitol Hill, to have armchair plays, to inconvenience and embarrass the president and his guests. And so the money Bouaka and you were organized to give those students to instigate chaos and violence, it did not reach across. And as a result, some of the students felt injured and decided to fight amongst themselves. But that is wrong. And to those students who did that, I want to say this. It is shame and embarrassing. The perpetrators shame and embarrass them and their families. And we call on the Liberian National Police to launch a full-scale investigation into the matter. And whoever did that must face the full weight of the law. Whoever did that.
Sure.
And I'm going to place a call right now to the Police Inspector General, Konompate Sulu, and I want to say that Mr. Secretary General, do a communication effective immediately. We'll reach to the Police Inspector General office to inquire. No Liberian citizens should be treated like that. Woe unto Bouaka, woe unto arms smuggling unit for misusing the students' grouping, for causing confusion in the midst of students. It's so unfortunate.
Okay, just quickly. You
So
said
you hold on, we'll just take another question because of time. So we'll take the next further there.
My name is Mike. There are allegations leveled against you guys that you are holding few of the students that were captured by you yesterday hostage. How true is that?
Well, it's quite laughable.
Yeah, because the guys were on Sky FM this morning accusing you of holding some of their
You see, in
students,
life, there's one thing you don't
members
have control over. Let me tell you this, right? You don't control how people think about you, what people choose to say about you. You don't control that. All you do is to portray the life that you are inclined and trained to. I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian by religion. When you check in the Cdc-Council, you have devoted Muslims as well in leadership. We are religiously tolerant. We're trained to be disciplined. We read the Bible and the Quran. We worship God. The man who leads us, President George, was a man of peace, a peaceful, continental peaceful icon. At no point in time we can be associated with anything that is violence. We remain peaceful. But we don't control how people think or feel about us. They carry that burden responsibility.
So how true is the news? The allegation against you? How true is
The allegation against us is something we cannot control. Nobody control how people think about them. You could wake up and see me today. You could see me as a lion. Another person could see me as a sheep. Another person could see me as an eagle. And someone else could see me as a what? As a zebra. Everyone have the ability. That's why you don't control. That is the diversity of humanity. But everyone in the history, we have a history in this country. Everyone know what George we have stood for. The man who we follow religiously is the man who came in this country during the civil crisis. He disarmed all of the young people. He launched the George Weah Foundation. He launched a scholarship. He served as peace ambassador. Even in his opposition days, and under his watch, all of us who walk under the ambience of President George Weah, we're peaceful people.
okay,
So
yeah,
before-
that was
Yeah,
very
my
good.
name
No,
is.
so before the
take
final
another
question,
Okay.
and before the final question, and before the final and last question, you know, the media, you guys are a very good friend. And it is also your constitutional responsibility to report on the reality, the fact. So when someone says they get money on a hostage in keeping, I think there are names, there are photos, yes, because you should come with accuracy. So you guys need to start reporting this also. Here's the militant chair of SOUP. Do you also know that they burned tires on the Japan freeway on yesterday? Spoon TV carried this.
Nobody has talked
Yeah,
about
the
it.
needed construction rule.
The newly constructed road. So now you cannot be talking about one issue, one allegation. Ordinary commotion anybody can do. So before you leave from here, we will share this video with you. Here's the chairman of SOUP. And the chairman of SOUP, he gave the order. After he gave the order, and the burning of tire. So This too should be shared on Front Page Africa. This too should be shared on Spoon FM, Spoon TV. KMTV too should carry this. So you cannot be talking about, oh, well, we police men, we got police error. We are keeping people. Who are those people? Their names, their pictures, their parents. So you two need to help and report this. So the final and last question quickly.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So,
Okay. You will go. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Now I just want to get clarification as well, because actually did cover up the program yesterday. That is the entire stuff, and when from the outset you said you guys were peaceful. However, at that time we saw both parties, throwing stones against each other. So I want to know whether you were doing this, as a result of a self-defense, and you said 12 of your members, are in critical, condition. Could you mind, naming at least a few of them?
Well, basically, when you talk about defense, our defense comes from two major sources. God above is our #1 defender, and secondly, the police are in charge of defend citizens. We have the AFL defending the territorial integrity of the country. This country is a peaceful country. We look up to the police to protect all of us. So in the case of being attacked, the police will provide protection for every Liberian citizen. We went with a set purpose to read our petition at the U.S. Embassy. Unfortunately, we saw pupils wearing khaki with stones under their feet, gathered in front of the embassies with stones. And let me say this to you. Their violent action was unprovoked. They managed to hurt over 12 of our people who went out to celebrate their president and read and present a petition to the embassy, which they tried to stop through the instigation of chaos, because that's what Joe Barker instructed them to do. But let me say this to you. You have to clap for those comrades who got injured, who were peaceful, who stood and embraced the attack and said, yes, you can throw your stone against us, you can hurt 12 of our people, you can burn your tires, but we'll remain at the American embassy and read our petition. And that was achieved. That was achieved. That was why we gathered there. And let me say this to the journalists. Anybody who goes to social media and take a picture and say, there's a picture of XYZ person and being kept in hostage. That person is a #1 suspect. Arrest the person. Sure. Tell them where you got your photos from. Do investigation. Simple. I think the press need to help in this way. But for some of us, we are not police officers. We're not involved with media work, so that's not responsibility. But let me say this to you. One thing we can show this country and every Liberian citizen is that the man we follow, the man we support, President Weah, is a man of peace. So all of us who walk under the shadows and ambience of this president, George Manuel Weah, will always be peaceful, will always see peace as the way forward.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Mike from KMTV. I want to know, what does the Cdc-COP make of the current issue that is going on with the United Party convention in Bonka?
Well, it's quite unfortunate. Joe Barker being head of the Lofa Defense Force during the civil crisis, and Benedict Ure being the chief smuggler of arms, ammunition, and Liberia's #1 thief who stole everything, all of the money that belongs to all of us. You know the reason why you have disadvantaged youth today, that quote unquote I refer to as Zogos, is because Benedict Ure then brought guns. They fool us. When we were kids, the guns are what they made to be toy around here. They kill our mothers and fathers. They allow gunshots to be our toy. We're walking hungry in displaced camps. That's what we saw as toy. While their children were drinking milk and honey in exile, they took what belongs to all of us. So Joe Barker has Benedict Ure as his ally in politics. Ure believes in violence. Joe Barker is the head of the Lofa Defense Force. So what else do you expect of them? Have you forgotten that it was under Joe Barker watch, under the United Party administration, when thugs moved in at the headquarters of the CDC and killed young Liberians supporting a great political philosophy? Have you forgotten that it was under Joe Barker that Shaggy Kamara got killed in West Point at their instruction? Have you forgotten that story? Have you forgotten the story of Jim Gray? Have you forgotten all of those stories? Have you forgotten the story that it was under Joe Barker that injured Tupac was raped to death? No justice. I'm forgetting those stories. So it's not strange. We know, you see, when an enrichment is disorganized and has sinister motive against the country, they will always expose themselves. Yesterday, their intent was to disorganize the independence celebration. But as God could have it, thousands of Liberians said, no, we celebrate our president. So what they could not achieve in the nation capital, Monrovia, it is what has followed them. Now they are fighting amongst themselves. They're trying to tear down. I'm told that the Banga administrative building is almost down to the ground. And this is a sad moment for our country. This is a sad moment for our country. That is the reason why all of us young people in this country must rise up to the occasion. We must rise up to the occasion at every point in time to ensure that peace and stability is kept in this country. Because without peace and stability, you know, I will not enjoy President Ware free tuition program at the university. Without peace and security, we will not enjoy the road the president building. Without peace and security, we will not enjoy the hospitals he's building. Without peace and security, we will not enjoy our beautiful invisible part that we can go and play our game and everything. I want to say this so you want to call each and every Liberian citizen. Let us see peace as the way forward. Let us support President George Weah. He's a man God has blessed us with to move our country forward. Thank you very much. Let's protect the state. Weah is facing the country.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate you so much. And thanks to you for coming.